everybody had a good November 23rd. Can't mention what holiday that is because I'm going to get blocked in some countries, I know. So I don't know how YouTube does it. They've got some voice recognition or something that they go through the videos and say, oh, that's a no-no. Same way recently, like the last 5 videos I've uploaded, suddenly there's a warning on it, not suitable for all advertisers. I mean, I'm making a vise clamp. What's not suitable? So I always have to manually request a manual review, and a few days later the warning gets removed or the restriction gets removed. So because of the holiday, I didn't get to do a whole lot of stuff here. I was more focusing on what was going on. So I've just got a bunch of little random videos here I'm just going to show first. This is more of a shop talk, probably, video. So I need to close up. You know, I did a little bit more on the vise clamp, and then there's some work I'll show on the lathe and so on. So here's just a whole bunch of little random projects that I did that might be of interest to somebody. Alright, shoot this again. Because every time I go and play, everything nowadays is starting to look foggy. I'm thinking, why is it foggy? Turns out there's some kind of film on the lens. I was shocked. Don't know where it came from. Everybody's seen this guy? Boy, I have used it a lot. I am just thrilled to death with it. I used it a whole bunch to make the balancer for those rods that go between, because you just put one of the plates in here, one of the side things, set it up to drill a hole, flip it over, drill a hole, flip it over. So like one setup, 4 holes, done. But I kept seeing these things on eBay and other places where there's this rod coming out, and I kept wondering, what is this rod for? And suddenly it hit me. If I've got something really low profile, I guess I have to take this off to show you, because I could have used this to make one of these things. But if come on over here, you can see if I've got to machine something that's really close to the vise jaw, I'm going to machine right into it. So I figured I realized what this thing is. It pushes you out and away. It keeps this guy out and away when you're up on parallels, so that I could have machined this part had I had that. So I figured I better make this thing before I need it. So I just wanted to show that little guy, pretty quick and easy to make. And so I have it. So food for thought. That's it. Alright, I know the light's going to be glary all over the place, but this is, let me clean it off, one of the high-speed steel cutters that I made myself. Slowly getting better at it, but it works pretty good. Like I said, stainless steel loves high-speed steel cutters. So the finish is just fantastic. You can see it just curls stuff right off. Beautiful. I'm just got to turn this guy down because I want to make an arbor for the balancer for that small little 4-inch guy. Where'd my thing go here? Yeah. Alright, slow this down, clean it up a little bit. Don't know how well you can see. I can turn this light off. Maybe you can tell, maybe not. What happens if I zoom in? Oop, okay, that's out of focus. But there it is without the light, and there it is with the light. But to me, that's a gorgeous finish. So just wanted to share that. This guy was always a pain to use. It would never stay, or how do you describe it? It's like it would stick, and then you try to move it, and all of a sudden it's free. So a couple of things that I did. One, this is way too long. It just kept tilting with the weight of the test indicator on it, so I just cut it off. Forget it. Put that in the lathe, clean up the end, chamfer it, done. So that makes it more useful. The other thing is I got rid of the steel stuff that they had in here, and just made some nylon, actually this is Teflon washers. Big difference, big difference. Now it moves easily and it stays put. So I'm really going to like this a lot. The other thing is this was off, so I had to put this in the vise, and I just clamped it down, spread it with a screwdriver, put it on there. It doesn't move now. So I can loosen this up and that doesn't move. I always had to over crank it. This stopped moving before this did. So just some little tidbits here. I'm going to go to Marshall's and get some wavy washers. Yeah, what motivated this is that other holder, the one that goes on the mill that I showed. So yeah, these nylon or Teflon or whatever washers do the trick. If I get some wavy washers in here, I think it's going to be perfect. So just wanted to share that. Alright, here's the balancing jig, complete with all the rods and stuff. And does it work? Oh yeah. But I was asking a lot of questions about the design, and I originally looked at, look at it go backwards, all the other videos of people using them, and most of them have the two big discs that are overlaid, and you put your rod in there. And I was thinking about doing that, but one of the videos I saw, they've got the big round discs, but there was a bunch of holes drilled, or not all the way through, but removing material to balance the disc. And I was really shocked to see, 4, 5, 6 spots that were drilled removing material. And I can't believe that just a nice thin round steel disc is that far out of balance. And so to make one with the big discs, I need something to balance the discs with, because it's going to throw it all off, of course. So that's why I went with the little bearings here. And also I think with the larger discs you get some momentum issues maybe playing into it. But kind of the trick to this guy is the bearings are riding on the set screws, because I took a bearing out and stuck a gauge pin in there, jam one in there, and you try to spin it, just go bzz, like that, and it didn't spin too well. But somehow, being on the set screw with the threads, you spin it and it spins a lot more. So kind of lucked out on that in the design, and it keeps going. But let me show a quick little clip here of me messing around with it, just starting to learn and to actually balance a wheel. Alright, picked one of my junkiest wheels here to experiment with, and yeah, this jig really works nice. It's sensitive. You can see I've drilled some holes in it, kept going down there, and I was thinking, well, how much more do I have to remove before I make Swiss cheese out of this wheel? So I taped a little teeny piece of plastic on that side, and now it wants to stay there. It wants to actually land someplace else. But so it still kind of wants to go back down to that spot. But we're talking minor things. This must be just a few grams. That I probably should weigh it, but I think this wheel is pretty close to being in balance. I did spin it, and see, just take it off, it goes right back down. So there's not much I have left to take off. I did spin it, and I'm just looking at the top, and it looks like it's been true. It's round. It's not bobbing up and down or anything. So did go back to IMS and got 4 more of these guys. And one of the main reasons is it's 4027 aluminum, which when I researched is supposed to be really good for casting when I finally get around to making the foundry and casting. I'm running out of room here too to put stock. There's no more room underneath. But I was thinking, I was told, I forgot who, a while back that you have to have the paper here, and the pieces that clamp on it have to be coned. And yet I'm looking on the internet at all these balancing systems. They're all flat. They're on the paper, but they're flat. They're, as far as I can tell, they're not coned. So I went back in the scrap bin, got a nice cut in it, but I can hold that in the chuck. 3 inches. I'm going to face it off, put a groove in it on the rotary table in a hole, and then try to make some kind of a fine-tuned balancing system. So that's another learning curve and experiment, because right now this is telling me it's really touchy to try to get this balanced by drilling holes in everything. But at least I kind of wish I had an assortment of weights. That would be cool. Actually, I could probably use BBs or something and just start placing them first, so I know how much material to remove and where. Tape shouldn't weigh that much. Yeah, see, it still wants to keep going back down where I drilled. And yet, if you put opposite of that, just this little piece of plastic, which would be right here, now it doesn't want to go down anymore. Just sits, basically. Is this friction free? No. Is it friction free enough to do this? Yeah. Alright, so how sensitive is this thing? Incredibly sensitive. That piece of plastic I did take inside, put it on the postage scale, which measures grams, and it didn't even register 1 gram. So, being a reloader, ammunition reloader, I had the scale which measures grains. 15.43 grains equals 1 gram. I weighed that piece of plastic and it was 14.1 grains, under a gram. So essentially I'm drilling holes in this thing, balancing it to less than a gram, which to me is ridiculous. So what I've learned is that balancing a wheel is pretty much so repetitive. You balance it as best you can here, drilling holes, making Swiss cheese out of it. Take it, mount it on the grinder, true it up, which throws it back out of balance. Bring it back over here, balance it again, and so on. But, so I think the only way to really get it balanced is there's a little kit thing, a balancer that you put on here while it's on the grinder to move weights around to balance it. I think the company's called One Way. But it's a kick looking at Google images of the One Way thing, because I was told a long time ago that you have to keep the paper here. You cannot mount it without paper, and the mounting plate, cone, whatever you want to call it, has to be cone shaped. And yet I'm looking at this one-way balancer and it's flat as far as I can tell. And so I was going to make one. Bought the material here and I was going to put a groove in it and make some balancing weight thing. But I figured, you know, enough's enough. Here's more hours playing with it, but did get it better. Did get the balance better on it. So, what to say then? I'm just going to let it be as is. I did take the buffing wheel, the 8-inch buffing wheel off the grinder, and did balance it on this, cutting some of the edges off of the wool, and got the vibrations down quite a bit on that too. So I'm pretty happy with how this turned out and how it's working. And I do want to say that the rods I ordered off of eBay, they came from a company called Trinity Metals, and there were 6 5/16 rods I ordered. They were $14 and free shipping, which I don't think can't beat that. I mean, shipping alone, I know costs, so that came out pretty cheap. But two of the rods that came in it, one had a groove down halfway in it, and so I couldn't really use it. And another one had this spiral going down a quarter way. So I contacted the guy, and I'm shocked. To my surprise, he sent two new rods, and he sent me a beautiful 5/8 rod. I know he had to go through his inventory to find, this is the one that he sent, to find this, because it's absolutely perfectly straight. I indicated it for free. So my hat's off. Thank you, Marty at Trinity Metals, for doing that. That's above and beyond the call of duty. I mean, I've got a really nice cherry rod here that I got to protect now. So one other thing that I did was I'm still constantly in search of trying to do better quality video. And one YouTuber, I asked what he was using, and he said he's using his digital SLR camera. So I pulled out my Canon 5D and did a quick test run, and yeah, seriously better video. But I would expect that from a $3,000 camera with a $500 lens on it and shooting 1080p. But the problem is it records in MOV format, which my Adobe Premiere CS4 that I use for editing all this stuff won't import. So I'd have to convert it to MP4, import it, edit it, and then upload it to YouTube. But what I'm going to start doing is, I did some research, and evidently YouTube favors, what, a 1280 by 720 to upload. They say that's the optimal resolution you should upload. And here I'm shooting 1920 by 1080. So I'm thinking from now on I'm just going to try converting it here. Hopefully Premiere, I've done some tests and it looks like I'm converting it better than they are. So I'm going to go from 1080 down to the 1280 by 720 and upload that and see how that's going to work. Otherwise I'm still searching for better audio and sharper video and playing with lighting and stuff like that. But alright, well, I guess that's enough of shop talk for today. Thank you again, Trinity Metals, and I hope you enjoyed the video.